He suddenly awakens in a hospital, gasping as the bizarre dream fades. Yet the situation immediately feels off. This isn't just another nightmare, because he's somehow back in the hospital again. As he processes his condition, he realizes something impossible. His missing limbs have been restored. Confusion deepens into disbelief as he questions whether he's somehow become immortal. Though his train of thought quickly veers into the grim reality of hospital bills that would normally follow such a recovery. Soon, officials arrive and calmly explain that his expenses have been covered this time, offering a strange sense of relief. However, their curiosity quickly surfaces as they question how someone as weak as him survived an incident that killed far stronger individuals. Their suspicion leads to further testing, though he remains more concerned about whether any of this will cost him money. The results are brutally humbling. He's so weak that even the most harmless threats will be dangerous to him. Despite this, he notices something unusual within himself that no one else seems able to perceive, hinting that something deeper is happening beneath the surface. Left alone with his thoughts, he reflects on the strange system only he can see, realizing others are completely unaware of it. His attention is briefly interrupted by his sister, whose arrival quickly devolves into sharp, sarcastic sibling banter. Their exchange is filled with insults, teasing, and exaggerated mockery, revealing a relationship built on equal parts care and chaos. Despite the humor, it's clear that their bond is genuine, even if it's buried under layers of relentless bickering. Their argument continues, escalating into petty jabs about responsibilities, finances, and daily life, with neither side willing to concede. Eventually, she leaves, claiming she has plans, which he immediately mocks. Once alone again, the brief moment of family interaction fades, replaced by his return to the strange system hovering in his awareness. What started as comedic distraction shifts back into something more unsettling as he confronts the reality of interacting with something that feels far too real to ignore. He reluctantly begins engaging with the mysterious interface, arguing with it as if it were a person, even while recognizing how ridiculous that sounds. The system responds with tasks and conditions that feel suspiciously game-like, including training requirements that he immediately resists. Still, curiosity, and perhaps necessity, pushes him forward. The situation becomes increasingly absurd, blending his skepticism with reluctant participation, as though he's being dragged into a game he never agreed to play. Without warning, he is thrust into a completely different environment, ripped from the safety of the hospital into a dangerous, unfamiliar setting. His confusion turns to panic as he realizes he's being punished for not complying with the system's demands. What initially seems manageable quickly escalates when monstrous threats emerge, forcing him into a desperate struggle for survival. The comedic tone gives way to urgency, as he's pushed far beyond his limits. Exhaustion takes over as he runs, fights, and barely manages to stay alive. The ordeal leaves him physically drained, collapsing under the weight of the punishment. Yet just as abruptly as it began, he finds himself back in reality, now showing signs of rapid recovery that surprise even the hospital staff. What seemed impossible before, his healing, now appears to be happening at an unnatural pace, hinting that the system's influence is already reshaping him. As he regains his strength, he begins experimenting with the system, allocating points and trying to understand how it works. His mindset shifts toward cautious optimism, treating the situation like a game he might be able to exploit. Despite his progress, the system doesn't hesitate to mock his decisions, reinforcing the idea that he's still far from powerful. Even so, he continues forward, driven by the possibility of becoming something greater. His focus shifts toward rewards and items, hoping for something valuable that could give him an edge. However, luck doesn't seem to be on his side, and his expectations are met with disappointment. Meanwhile, elsewhere, chaos unfolds as people argue and clash over unrelated tensions, creating a stark contrast to his more personal struggle. The world around him continues moving, indifferent to his transformation. The external chaos escalates into full-blown hostility, filled with insults and confrontations that highlight the messy, unpredictable nature of the world he lives in. Eventually, The noise fades from relevance as attention returns to him, setting the stage for his next decision. Choosing to avoid unnecessary drama, he decides to enter a dungeon, seeing it as a better alternative to dealing with everyday frustrations. As he prepares himself mentally, he adopts a determined mindset, stepping into danger with a mix of fear and resolve. The moment he enters, he's immediately confronted by enemies, forcing him to put his newfound abilities to the test. The battle begins awkwardly but quickly shifts as he adapts, striking back with growing confidence. Each encounter fuels his momentum, turning initial struggle into controlled aggression. As enemies fall, he notices his strength increasing, and what once seemed overwhelming becomes manageable. The progression feels tangible, as if he's finally gaining control over his fate. Eventually, he reaches the dungeon's final challenge, a boss that dwarfs everything he has faced so far. The environment shifts dramatically, amplifying the tension as he prepares for a decisive fight. The encounter is brutal, pushing him to his limits as he struggles against a powerful and relentless opponent. The fight becomes chaotic and desperate, with him barely holding his ground as he's thrown around and forced to endure heavy blows. Despite the overwhelming odds, he refuses to give up, drawing on sheer determination to continue fighting. Every moment feels like it could be his last, yet he presses forward, driven by the need to win. Summoning everything he has left, he launches a final, all-or-nothing effort, grappling with the monster in a desperate attempt to overpower it. The struggle is intense, raw, and exhausting, but eventually his persistence pays off. The enemy falls, marking a hard-earned victory that proves he's no longer as weak as he once was. With the battle over, he takes a moment to recover and collect his rewards, already thinking about how far he still has to go. Just as things begin to settle, reality intrudes again. Another crisis is unfolding, and he's pulled back into action. This time, however, he approaches it differently, testing his strength with newfound confidence, and launching himself forward without hesitation, ready to face whatever comes next.